Okay, so what I did is I translated my legs -3, translated this leg +3, and I adjusted my spine to y 0.381 and my translate to 0.188 to get a straight leg and a pretty straight leg here. And I want this to be my 1 and 25. So I'm going to set this now. I forgot to do it earlier, so I'm setting these keys. All right, I'm going to copy them, paste them, and that gives me my first and my last here. All right, so actually this is supposed to be frame 1 and it's frame 0, so I'm gonna grab that and move it because I don't want that to confuse me. That should be frame 1. I'm just going to double check that I don't have any other loose keys anywhere. Okay, so this should be frame 1. So it's frame 1 to frame 25. Now I'm going to focus on my middle, my opposite. So essentially what I'm going to do is leave everything exactly the same, but change this to +3 and change my rotation, because I've got to change my rotate value, which I'll get to. It needs to be rotated to -34.1. Copy. So I'm going to paste that, enter that, and the toe goes back up a little bit. So I need to get those values no matter whatever they are. So negative. So this is -3, and my rotation on that is going to be down like so, and I need to find out what that value is. So I can copy that, get that value right, and go back, get my toe value. My toe bend value is 47.9, copy. Okay, and I want to make sure I have my translation values just right. -64, copy. Oops. So I'm going to just match up my pose as best I can here. So I've got to translate here, copy 1.034, and when I go here I need to put that on my left leg. So basically I want it to look clean, as close to the other as possible. So this leg was at this value here, -64, and it needs to go down here. All right. There, I've got that. Now I'm getting this nice slippage happening. Essentially, I'm just trying to make this slide. I'm not concerned about the up positions and how it's drifting right now, because I'm going to take care of that. I am going to take care of that as I add more poses. All right, but what I wanted to do is just simply walk across like so, moving from one pose to the other, making sure that it's on the ground at these core contact positions. Okay? If I'm not happy with it, then I need to make adjustments. If I look at it from the side, it looks like it's on the ground. And it looks like it's on the ground. It's definitely on the ground here. And I'm going to leave it like that, even though his heel is in the floor. So this is what I want for now, all right? So I'm saving this. This is my pose. Now I want to move on to my next stage, all right? My next stage in this process is going to be I have my keys, 1 and 25, and my breakdown here. Now I'm going to go into what you could do is put in your passing position when the foot is up. That would be fine, or you could go to your that's going to be fine as well. I could put in my passing position, but I typically like to put in my low position right here because that gives me the ability to establish that foot on the ground, and I can adjust basically the timing of it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move into my fourth frame, and the leg needs to be on the ground under his weight, under his body. Rotation is going to be 0. It is flat and it is on the ground, but his hips, his translation values, which we haven't changed at it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put in his translation value because I didn't set that on his hips. I'm going to lock that in at 13. Every single object should have keys at this point, so I don't want to forget that. Okay, so at this point, oh, I didn't set that key. So what I'm going to be doing is my character's right leg is going to be coming into contact at this point. My right leg is going to be under here, but my translation value is going to have lowered. Remember, I'm absorbing the weight. So he's coming from here and going down, hitting that weight. The back leg is actually not moving forward. This is where we're setting up shapes. So this is the extent of this back leg. Actually, it doesn't need to be that straight yet. I want it to be straight. I want it to be back a little bit more, like so. I don't want it to go through the ground. And I'm going to adjust that with my curves. So a lot of my animation is going to be done with my curves too. Meaning I'm going to adjust the timing of when things hit. So here I go here. Now I don't want my translation value to drop. I'm at 1.034 and I should still be at 1.034 because I want it to be back in this position. I don't want it to drop, but it's because I'm rotating. I'm going to change my rotation a little bit that it's changing. So I'm going to have to keep that the feeling of that foot on the ground. Now this takes a lot of just tweaking and looking at it and making sure things look right. I don't want to forget, and it takes a lot of posing. I mean, we were working with a puppet, and so all the different parts got to move properly. And what I'm trying to do is, there's not a lot of, so I have this. So I like to lift the foot on the contact stage. The foot is off the ground, so I'm going to lift this left foot up, and I'm going to straighten the toe a little bit. And I'm going to have to adjust that a little bit. So here it goes. This to this. All right. Now if I'm happy with that, I can move on. I'm going to adjust the amount of time that this hits the ground later on. Boom, so that curve hits a little faster. That rotation curve is going to hit, and it needs to snap down. So if I looked at that rotation value of my foot, it's going to rotate around Y from here to here. I'm going to need that to hit a little bit faster. So like this, boom. So it can actually snap. Now, one of the things I like to see is a little bit more of the toe curve. So one of the things I might go back and add is a little bit more toe up, like this. And since I changed that here, copy, I need to change it here. And this is where things can get, you know, goofy. So now I need to put that toe back down to 0. Not goofy, but just there's a lot of info happening. So how my foot, alright, so I'm getting this back and forth, good. So I'm getting that. Things are already starting to, boom, look better. Now I've got this, and then I have this happening. Now I'm going to go into my passing point, and that's at frame 7. And that's where I get into, this is where this one is already almost happening, but I want to move it up a little bit farther and adjust my rotation on my foot. I don't want him to drag his foot on the ground, obviously. I don't want that. So I'm going to have to tweak this. This leg is a little bit harder to adjust because he has such big feet. And you might even consider something like that. And I like to put a little bit of a bend in his toe because it kind of is like it is a shape change. And as his leg is dragging forward, as his leg begins to drag forward, it's a different kind of shape. It feels like it is moving properly. Now, one thing you'll notice is that I have this pull vector pointing over the side because of this rotation. Now that's something that is messing things up a little bit. So there's a little bit of a rotation issue here. That shouldn't have been changed. His leg should still be like so. And you may even consider rotating his leg out. So there's a lot of variations here. And it looks like his leg needs to possibly rotate out a little bit. And it's having a problem. I'm getting a strange change in my rotation right here, which is affecting this. So what I need to do is I'm going to look at my curves really quick. Frame. And this is an issue with my, looks like my rotate Y. And this rotate Y is going up and then strangely, and so one of these things that you might have to do is adjust your curves. So these curves should be, a lot of times we need to make sure they're not overcompensating. See how this is overcompensating here? Different curves, there are flat curves which are famous for easing in and easing out of a point. Now, for some reason, this curve is also, I'm going to look at my other curves and see what might be happening here. There's a strange kind of thing happening which I want to figure out. It goes out and then it goes back in, but it's going around, it says it's going around in the Y, So we'll